Hey guys, and welcome back to the third episode of our sub-series going into Of Mice and Men. Today we will be going over the third question, which Darren will be reading.
Yeah, well, before starting with the questions, let's define the setting, guys, right?
Yeah.
So, Alex, in your opinion, what's the setting?
The time and place in which the story occurs, essentially, like the timeline, like the location, the background, everything related to that.
Basically, yeah, everything related with the location or the place the characters are at. Now, for our first question, Yusef has been kind enough to ask us, what are the most used settings?
I think it was Sultan that asked that, but
Sultan, you're right. Aye,
anyways,
aye,
Alright.
aye.
so there were two main settings, the ranch and outside. Of course, in the ranch, it occurred in like different specific areas, like different bedrooms, but it was mostly in the ranch, since chapter 1 was outside, chapter 2 was inside, chapter 3 was inside, chapter 4 was inside, chapter 5 was inside, and then chapter 6 was mostly outside.
And by outside, it's mainly the brush.
Only the brush. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in chapter 2 and 3, we were in the bunkhouse as well. It was the same area.
Yep.
Well, the ranch, where they stayed at most when they were in the ranch was the bunkhouse and two barns. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the most used settings are the brush and the bunkhouse, right?
Yep.
But overall, the best answer would be the ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyways,
But now this is Yusuf's actual question.
yes.
Yes, us. What are the stuff in the bunkhouse? What were the stuff in the bunkhouse when George and Lenny entered it?
So another way to put this is like, for example, Will's and George's bindle, which ended up being in the bunkhouse. And I'm pretty sure George brought along a razor, some laxative. What else is there?
Had a comb.
Yeah.
So
Like he put everything inside an apple box, right? That was provided.
Yep. And in the apple boxes, there are already magazines as well.
Clearly, he's a clean man.
Even before him,
Yeah.
there was a blacksmith, right?
Yeah.
So he had a lot of the bug spray stuff.
Yeah, but we can easily tell that George himself is clean since he was disturbed and was wary of the fact that there could have been potential bugs in their bunk.
Yeah, he hesitated to use the bunk and kept insisting,
Yeah.
like, kept asking Candy questions regarding the bed and the previous owner. But Candy reassured him that it was clean and the previous owner was quite a clean guy.
Yeah. Well, the beds were very questionable, to say the least.
Yeah.
They were sleeping on burlap sacks, was it? I'm not sure what the mattress was made of. But yeah, does anyone have anything to add to that?
I think we got a little off topic because the question is, what are the stuff in the bunkhouse? Like, what is the stuff in the bunkhouse? Like, maybe not in George's bindle. Like,
well, George's bindle was in the bunkhouse as well.
Yeah.
But mainly there was like an apple box, the different mattresses with the beds, right? It was like double bunk or bunk beds, right?
Yeah.
So, in George's bindle, so all there was a razor, a bar of soap, a comb, a bottle of pills, liniment, and a leather wristband.
Alright.
Yeah. Well, to follow through, Anthony has asked us the question of, does the mood change throughout the novel? the mood being how the reader feels about it, right?
I feel like this is gonna be a little controversial.
Like the atmosphere, and how the reader feels reading the
Basically,
novel.
how you were feeling during the book. So, how are you feeling during like chapter 1 and 2 versus how you were feeling in chapter 5 and 6?
Well, Alex, would you like to answer this one?
I'm gonna attempt to. For chapter 1 and 2, it was kind of bland. I mean, not too, like, it was a little bland, but then it got, like, a little more dark and stuff. With all the, like, the killings and the hostility and stuff. And that
Chapter
continued
1 was
throughout the story.
Chapter 1 was mainly focused on the setting, right?
Yeah,
Setting a good atmosphere for it. The disruption of the calm.
yeah,
And they give us a good introduction to our main characters, George and Lenny.
yeah.
Same with the side characters. Carlson, Slim, Candy.
Yeah,
and the
but that
other.
was just until chapter 2.
Yeah.
And
So
later.
So we can say that the mood changes throughout the story. A little bit.
it does. It becomes sadder, right?
Yeah,
Well, at least that's how I felt. I felt the dread of pain when I knew that what Lenny was going to do and what Lenny was going to go through after he killed Charlie's wife.
And I also felt a bit of frustration, because kind of like the whole thing that happened did not need to happen and could have been easily avoided.
yeah, I agree.
If only, if only.
Anyways, with
Well,
that question answered, Derin, would you like to tell us the next question?
now, our fourth and last question for tonight. Zaha has been kind enough to provide another question, which is, why do they describe the appearance of George and Lenny in Chapter 1 a disturbance? How come it's a disturbance?
This is probably one of the harder questions, if I'd have to say.
Exactly. This is more of like, Steinbeck's decision making behind this.
Yeah, but if I had to interpret it, personally, I would say it's because the two men, well, in this situation, I'd say mostly Lenny, is not the most peaceful man and is known for causing some trouble.
Yeah,
And him disrupting the peace could actually be said isn't too unusual.
Yeah, since they're opposites, they tend to argue quite a bit, and that really like contrasts the peaceful setting.
Yeah.
I feel like just human intervention in general would have made a disturbance.
Yeah.
Made a disturbance.
I mean, it really depends, but yeah, most definitely.
You know how like before in rural regions where it was mostly like grassland or like where animals inhabited it?
Yeah.
Then humans came along and then built their own things. So they ran away from them. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I guess so, but isn't this book was written in the 1950s, right?
30s.
1930s. So I don't think many people were aware of the impact humans had on the environment at that time. But that's
by experience, right? Like John Steinbeck lived in rural areas. He studied in Stanford, etc.
Yes, that makes sense then.
Does anyone have anything to add on?
No, I think we've theorized quite well on that question. Anyways, with the last question out of the
way, I have a question for you. It wasn't submitted by anyone.
For who?
But no, I'm asking you guys, right?
All right.
What was your favorite setting, or your favorite chapter?
My favorite chapter. Okay, my favorite chapter is probably going to be chapter 6 because it really gave me food for thought and definitely was an ending that I enjoyed, and especially how it was left for interpretation. And I think the ending was a very good conclusion for the stories. However, I know a lot of people think otherwise, since that is one of the biggest reviews and criticisms on this book. But personally, I think that the ending was very fitting.
Yeah.
For you, Alex, what was your favorite chapter or setting?
You know, I'm gonna have to agree with Gaddiel here because chapter 6 kind of, you know, held the climax and had an interesting ending. And the killing of Lenny related back to, you know, the death of Candy's dog, which is one of many underlying morals of the story. But either way, I think chapter 6 was pretty eventful and interesting.
Yeah.
Or did you guys like the setting of chapter 6?
They were
You
two,
think it's
right?
a fitting
They were
setting?
two.
You think it's fitting?
Well, yes, and it kind of comes into play and ties back to the beginning on how the story kind of finds itself where it began, which I think is really fits perfectly with the American dream. How people work their time on the ranch and then go and blow all their money in like a tramp house. There, they work hard. They end, and then eventually they end up at the same spot that they were that they once were. So I think that was really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's the end of the episode now. We've run out of time.
Yeah, this is a great episode. We appreciate your questions.
All right, thank you for listening.
And for next time, remember to ask us questions in the comment section about the characterization.
Yeah.
Or just email us. Right? We have it in the about section.
Yeah. Now tune in for next time. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.